I'm 81 years old. My name is Michael. And there are mornings now when I wake up already tired, not from the night, but from the weight of remembering what I didn't do. I used to think regret would feel louder, like panic, like crying, but it doesn't. It feels quiet. It sits beside me at the kitchen table while the coffee goes cold. It waits its turn. I don't have much time left. I know that in a practical way, not a dramatic one. My body reminds me without emotion. The calendar does too. So I'm saying this now because I won't always be able to, and because there's no reason to keep pretending I turned out exactly as planned. Most of my life looked reasonable from the outside. That's the part that makes this harder to explain. I wasn't reckless. I didn't throw everything away. I worked. I showed up. I paid bills. I kept promises, at least the obvious ones. I told myself I was being responsible. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I believed time was something you stored, like money in a savings account. If I delayed a conversation, I'd have it later. If I missed a moment, there would be another version of it down the road. I thought life repeated itself generously. I was wrong about that. Back then, my days were full but not meaningful in the way I understand meaning now. I worked long hours, not because anyone forced me to, but because it felt clean, clear. You do the work, you get the result. People respect you. There's a structure to it. Relationships were messier. They required attention when I was tired. They wanted me present when my mind was elsewhere. So I postponed them, not forever, just until things slowed down. They never really did. I remember coming home late and seeing the lights already off. I'd tell myself it was fine. We'd talk on the weekend or next week or after this busy stretch. I said that sentence a lot. After this busy stretch. At the time, I didn't think I was choosing work over people. I thought I was choosing stability, security. I thought that was love in its own way. Years pass faster than you notice while you're inside them. That's something no one can really teach you. You only understand it once the years stop stacking neatly and start feeling thin. Small things began to disappear first. Dinners together, long conversations, the habit of checking in just to hear a voice. None of it ended with an argument. That's important. It just faded quietly like sound leaving a room. I told myself this was normal, that this was adulthood. Everyone was tired. Everyone was busy. I wasn't failing. I was just living. There were moments, though, brief ones, sitting in the car before going inside, hearing hesitation in a voice on the phone, feeling like something needed to be said but not knowing how to start. I noticed those moments. I ignored them. I thought awareness was enough. I thought noticing counted as action. It doesn't. Now, at 81, I can see the shape of my life clearly. It's not made of the big decisions I obsessed over. It's made of the small delays, the conversations I postponed, the presence I assumed I could offer later. Later is a word that shrinks as you age. I'm not telling this story because I think it makes me wise. I'm telling it because it's true, and because I don't need to protect the version of myself who believed he had endless time. I didn't fail all at once. I faded in places that mattered, and I didn't notice until those places were gone. There was a moment sometime in my late 40s when I felt a quiet alarm go off inside me. Not fear, more like confusion. I was sitting at my desk after everyone had gone home looking at paperwork that didn't matter anymore that day. I remember thinking very clearly, is this really what all the waiting was for? I dismissed the thought. I told myself it was just fatigue, midlife restlessness. People joked about it. I laughed along. I said I was lucky, and I was in many ways. But luck doesn't protect you from absence. By then, the habits were set. I woke up early. I worked. I came home tired. I filled the evenings with television or silence. I didn't ask hard questions because I already knew the answers would ask something from me, something I wasn't sure how to give. I wasn't cruel. That's important to say. I wasn't unfaithful. I didn't disappear overnight. I simply wasn't fully there. And it turns out you can lose people that way without anyone raising their voice. I remember one conversation in particular. It wasn't dramatic. That's why it stayed with me. I was told calmly that I felt far away, that it was lonely to sit next to someone who was always somewhere else. I nodded. I listened. I said I'd try to do better. I meant it. But I thought trying was a future version of myself's responsibility. I thought understanding the problem was most of the work. It isn't. The years that followed blurred together, promotions, new responsibilities, less patience. I kept telling myself that once things stabilized, I'd show up properly, once the pressure eased, once the next milestone passed. Milestones are excellent at moving the finish line. Then came the moment you can't negotiate with, the kind that doesn't ask if you're ready. Illness has a way of stripping language down to facts. There's no metaphor in a hospital room, just beeping machines and the realization that time has been quietly keeping its own schedule. I stood there and understood all at once that nothing I was planning would matter if I didn't act now. And that frightened me more than the illness itself, because I didn't know if I still knew how. By the time I tried to close the distance, it was already wide. Not hostile, just settled, like furniture that had been in the same place for years. Moving it felt disruptive, unnatural. Some losses don't explode, they solidify. Eventually, life changed, not with a bang, with a form to sign, with boxes, with the strange politeness people adopt when they've already grieved privately. I told myself we'd remain close. That history counts for something. History counts less than presence. The days after were quiet in a way I hadn't anticipated. No one was angry. No one blamed me outright. That almost made it worse. I could have argued with anger. I didn't know what to do with acceptance. As I aged, the world narrowed. Friends moved or passed away. Invitations slowed. People assumed I was content. I let them. It felt easier than explaining that contentment and loneliness can coexist. Sometimes I think about how many times I said, "There will be time." I treated time like a loyal employee, something that worked for me. I didn't understand it was the only thing not waiting. Now, sitting here, I can trace every regret back to that assumption, not to failure, to delay. I don't feel dramatic about it, just honest. The truth doesn't need volume. I lost things I thought were permanent because I treated them as flexible, this age, memory doesn't come back in order. It arrives in pieces, a sound, a sentence, the way a room felt before something ended. I remember a Sunday afternoon when there was nothing urgent to do, no deadlines, no pressure, just time. I sat in a chair and did nothing with it. That memory bothers me more than the days I was overwhelmed, because I was free and I still didn't move toward what mattered. I used to think regret would be about the big things, the risks I didn't take, the dreams I didn't chase. But those aren't what wake me up now. It's the ordinary moments I treated like they'd always be available. I thought being dependable was enough, that providing stability covered for absence. I didn't understand that people don't feel loved by plans, they feel loved by attention. As the years shortened, I noticed how little of me would remain once I was gone. Not my job titles, not the long hours, just the way I made people feel when I was with them, or wasn't. There's a strange humility that comes with realizing you will be remembered less vividly than you imagined. I don't say that with bitterness, just clarity. Most lives don't echo, they settle. I've learned to sit with that. There are days now when I walk slower on purpose, not because I have to, but because I want to feel the weight of each step. There isn't a lot of future left to rush toward. What remains deserves to be noticed. I still think about the things I can't fix. That doesn't go away. Acceptance isn't forgetting, it's stopping the argument with reality. If I could speak to my younger self, I wouldn't warn him about failure. I'd warn him about postponement, about assuming that caring later feels the same as caring now. It doesn't. Presence has an expiration date. I'm not angry with who I was. He did what he thought was right with the understanding he had. But I wish he'd known that love doesn't survive on intention alone. It needs evidence, repetition, time given freely, not squeezed in. Now, when people do reach out, I answer. Even if I'm tired, even if I don't know what to say, I've learned that silence creates distance faster than conflict ever could. There's a gentleness that comes at the end of things, a softening. I don't need to be impressive anymore. I don't need to justify my choices. I just need to be honest about them. That's what this is. If this sounds familiar to you, you don't need to do anything dramatic with it. You don't need to change your life overnight. Just notice where you're saying later, out of habit instead of necessity. If you want to share what this brought up for you, you can. If not, that's fine too. Some thoughts are meant to be carried quietly for a while. As for me, I'll finish my coffee, I'll sit a little longer, and I'll let the day be what it is. I'm 81. I don't have much time left, but I'm finally here.